Hello everyone, today I'm working on essentially a Dash-8 4DB, but it came with a lot with those two other engines and a baggy of parts. Also, I'm going to just reinstall these handrails so I don't lose them. Also, I'm using my speaker. So I'm using a different speaker, so you could put down in the comments below whether that helps or not. I might just have to get a new phone here. Anyways, I'm working on that. I'm going to reinstall these handrails. This is a good paint job. You can read all these stickers with magnification. You need a lot of magnification, but you can read them. Number boards are done for you. Definitely worth saving. Oh, somebody asked me if I like these. I do. I think they're really neat. They run a little noisy, but they are good runners. I'm going to reinstall this at the same time. Just got to line everything up properly. So these, you do need the side frames for this to work. Well, maybe not actually. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Anyways, I have the side frames, so we're gonna use them. Also, something really good happened to me yesterday. Well, maybe not yesterday, but during the week. I got a notification from Amazon that I was approved for the partnership program. So that it doesn't really pay a lot, but every little bit helps, you know, and that was, I thought that was gratifying to me anyways. So I was happy for that. So I went on my website, I put back a whole bunch of Amazon links. So probably what happened, somebody came and looked at my website, then they went on Amazon and they bought 3 packs of straight track, and it turns out that's all I needed to be approved into the partnership program. So thank you a lot. Thanks a lot to the person that did that. That was really cool. I have no way of knowing who it was, but if you recognize yourself out there, thank you. So that means anything you want to buy on Amazon, I can get a little commission on it. It's, you know, pennies on the dollar, but like I said before, every little bit helps. So you just go, let's say you want to buy whatever, kitchenware or a big screen TV. You go to my website and you click on one of my Amazon links that will take you to the product in question, and then after that you can go and buy your big screen TV or whatever, and it's going to help me out. It doesn't cost you anything. So let's see how bad these gears are. Let's just put some power on this and let's see what happens. Actually, this is incredible. None of the gears are cracked. I don't believe this. It's a little noisy, but none of the gears are cracked, so it just needs a little bit, maybe a little bit of alignment and a little bit of lubrication, but I did not expect that to run so well. So I'm still gonna disassemble it. What I do, I disassemble them, I clean them, I lubricate them, and I put them together with a lot of attention. But that is going to be a good runner. That was kind of a lucky purchase there. Yeah, it needs a little bit of an alignment, but wow, did not expect that. So, I don't know if you can see, the back here is a little higher than the front. That's because the shell goes 180. It goes 180 over the frame. Ask me how I know. It's because I did that quite a few times. Just instinctively, the shape of the frame tells you that the front should be on one side, but really the front's on the other side. That is very easy to correct. So how do I like these Bachmann engines? They're great, actually. Can't complain. However, I can afford to buy Kado or Atlas engines, so I sold them all and bought some Kado ones. I prefer the Kado over the Atlas, although some Atlas are just amazing. Well, this screw is not in its proper place. You know, stuff like that. That's what I do when I disassemble them. I will go back and look for every little detail and try to put them back correctly. There's only two screws holding the shell, and they're hidden by the fuel tank. So you take out the fuel tank and you get the little screws. Look at that, my screwdriver is magnetic today. That is some good stuff. And then the shell's pretty easy to remove. See, when you look at this frame, you're thinking this is the front. But it's not, it's the back. Actually, I'll try it the other way because it didn't sit too right. Yeah, that's even worse. Okay, so the other person had it on correctly. That is okay. They're probably not having the screw set up properly. Now it sits right. So remember, this notch here is for the back on these. Wow, everything looks great. That is awesome. So we're just gonna loop. I am still using my mic, and I see my videos, my first part of my videos, the sound keeps jumping up and down. So it is not my phone mic that's the problem. It really is the software that's being a pain here. So to remove these, there's just 3 screws, and that should be super easy, barely an inconvenience. Now with each screw, there's 3 of them, there's gonna be a spacer. The spacer's job, you can see it here. The spacer's job is to prevent the 2 frame halves from touching each other. Now that is hard to put back. The same with, I'll tell you, the power trucks are hard to put back because you gotta line up this pin, and you gotta line up this pin, and you gotta line up the little drive shaft there. So it's hard to put them back together. But it's not impossible, but it's hard. I think to make it easier on me today, I'm going to use a different technique there. I think I deserve to make it easy on myself. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to remove the side frames. The side frames, you just pry on the coupler. You just come right out. So that's pretty neat. So I'll put the side frames last, and I'll put the wheels last, and I'll put the contact strips just before I put the wheels. Just like that. Keep these in order. And that will be that. Much easier to put back that way. So I can just spread out the frame a little bit. And then when I put it back, I'll just need to worry about the drive shaft and these pins that go here. Yeah, worry about these pins and the drive shaft. Much easier to put it back together that way. It's on there tight, so I'm just gonna shimmy it like that, just a little bit at a time. It's tight enough. I have to check if I didn't forget a screw. But that's probably been on there for a long time. 30 years or so. It's coming. So yeah, 30 years in the same spot. That'll do it to you. Pretty tight on there. I'm gonna get another different looking screwdriver. But yeah, it's on there tight. Yeah, it's coming. So that one let go, and it's not overly lubricated, so it's still got the factory lubrication. Which is good, I guess. In fact, it feels like it's never been run. There we go. So these, keep track of these, they can come out. So everything feels real good in there. The motor was nice and quiet too. And I'm feeling my fingers. My fingers don't feel bad. These motors are okay. They could be a little bigger, but because they have a lot of gear reduction, they're big enough for that. Let's just test this on the bench. This is the lowest setting on my power pack. So it runs nice and quiet. There's no need to do anything there. You could lubricate the axles a little bit, I guess, if you want to amuse yourself. It won't make any changes. This thing is still good. So I'll just put a drop here on the side of the bearing, and then I'll use the little bit of thrust that there is on there, rotate it around, let the oil penetrate in there by capillarity, and then I'll run it a little bit with the power. But this one was well lubricated from the factory, so still after 30 years, so there won't be any change from that. Also, since I have everything apart, now I'm going to wash everything, starting with the shell. Although it's not very dirty, still, since I have everything in my hands, I'm going to wash this. I'm going to wash the fuel tank and the two side frames at the same time. There's decent detail on the shell. Look at the window frame is silver, and the air filters here are silver, same as a separate detail part for the exhaust stack. The number boards are done for you. The brake wheels there, and a builder's plate, which you can read. It says GE. So decent detail throughout. It's actually not a bad engine to get. Kind of a lucky find because it's mint. Also, there exists a well, this is the Dash-8 4DCW, but also works for the Dash-8. There's a conversion kit for this, which is available. Here's the part number for that. So I'm not going to use it on this one because it's so mint, but it's good to know it's available. I'm keeping it around in case I get an engine with completely broken off couplers, then it's going to come in handy. So the wheels, I just wash them with my hands like that. But you saw this thing ran fine, but they are a little bit dirty. Not enough to keep it from running, but again, since I have it apart, may as well take care of that. So I'm going to do the 5 other ones off camera, and then I wash it with my toothbrush. The toothbrush removes a lot of the dirt. But this is the gearbox. It is a good design. So these tabs hold it in the frame, and then you have your little drive shaft with the 2 universal joints. Be careful not to lose that. But you see, the worm gear is attached to the gearbox, which means that as your locomotive turns, the angle of the worm gear stays the same throughout. This is a very good design. I like this. Little brass bearings for the worm gear. So they put some quality to it. The axles are metal and the gearbox is plastic. Again, it's very low rolling resistance. Now, as I put it back together, I make sure there's no interference. But these two will get washed with some dish soap and my toothbrush. And then these here, I don't wash them. I'll just rub my fingers on it and that should be good. In fact, I picked up a little bit of dirt there from that. That's all I want to do. I just want to remove the dirt, if there is. And these, you need them to run the engine. Now you want them to have a little angle. It has to have a little angle, but not too much. If you have too much angle, it will put too much force on the wheels. If you have not enough angle, it will keep it from touching the frame, and then you're basically stalled. Actually, I want it to be a little bit more towards the frame if I can. That's what I want. This will minimize rolling resistance. But this, it's a fine adjustment, and then you have to decide where you're comfortable with that. But I like to have them a little bit flatter on the frame so they don't put too much force on the wheels. If you have too little force on the wheels, then it won't contact the frame and you're not going. So you have to figure out personally for you where is the best spot. Now I'm ready to put everything back together. I'm going to start by this frame half. And I've got my insulators. My insulators are all where they should be. And don't forget, there's this little ring here that can fall off, but you need it to space out the frame, so there's 3 of them. And I've got these 2 little plastic thingies. They also space out the frame and they help hold your fuel tank in place. So I used to put all the wheels together and then bring the gearbox with everything on it together. It was really tough to do because I had to worry about the placement of this, the placement of the drive shaft, and to line everything up was really tough. So I decided to change my approach there. Now I'll just put in the gearbox. So before I do that, I am going to do some lubrication on this. Doesn't need a lot because it's in real good shape to begin with. And I did wash everything, but I'm going to put just a drop on the side of each bearing on the little worm gear here. Maybe 1 drop on the top of it. And that's going to spread out as the locomotive works. And then I'll install that in its frame. And then I can come in later and put all the wheels together. So that's going to go just like that. And I'm going to do the same thing with the other gearbox with its worm gear. Just put 1 little drop. It does shimmy a little bit, so I'm using that just to have a little space to put my oil in, and then one more on the top, and that's it. That's pretty much all you need. It's three little drops, and that's it. So then that two will rest there, and then I'll bring in the other frame half. That's what I mean. Before I had to worry about the drive shaft, placing all that stuff together. It was pretty tough, to be honest. But now I only have to worry about the drive shaft and the gearbox and the little insulators. Put that in the center of the screen there so you guys have a chance to see. So yeah, I have to worry about the 3 insulators, the gearbox, the 2 gearboxes, but I don't have to worry about the contact strips. So I'm using gravity as my friend again. That looks like it's going together. That is okay. And then this one, the little insulator is off by 1/2 millimeter. So that is good. And then I'll check the thing on the bench. I'm gonna start my screws here. Everything looks real good. So I'll just start the screws. Actually, I'll have them tightened almost all the way in. So that is a good design. The worm gear turns as the gearbox turns, so the angle stays the same. The angle between the worm gear and that first gear stays the same. So that will be that. This engine is like a time machine. It feels almost new. So I don't know if you remember from before, there was a little bit of a gear noise. I'm hoping that assembling it with care will alleviate that. But we'll see. At this point, I'm going to want to test it on the bench. So look at that, running pretty good, and there's not much noise. So that's great. So now I'm gonna just bring in the wheels. They just drop in like that. Now these I won't re-gauge them because they're notorious for cracked gears and I don't want to force anything. So I am being very careful. You know what, maybe I should put my contact strips here before I put the wheels. That would be smart. But much easier to put the engine together that way. So put these contact strips. And the way I have them, they don't put a lot of stress on the wheels. Although they touch the wheels, it's not a lot. There, you have a look at the angle of my contact strips. They touch the frame, but it's not very hard. So I'll put this one back together the same way. I use my fingers to hold the contact strips in place. And then I'll bring in the first wheel, and that will start to hold the contact strips in place. And then the second wheel. There we go, second wheel, and then by that time the two wheels already hold the contact strip in place. So that will be good. And then I am going to put a little lubrication. So the metal part of the wheel, it touches the plastic gearbox, and that is your bearing for that. So in a situation like that, you can use a little lubrication on this. And then we'll do the exact same thing on the other side. So just one drop. That should be good. And then I'll bring in the side frames. They just pop in like that, nice and easy. I always check both sides just to be sure. So this engine, easy to work on, honestly. And easy to work on, and when it runs right, it runs right. So test it on the bench again. Well, that runs beautifully, nice and quiet. So running on the bench, it's one thing. Let's go try it on the track. I like the gearing on these. The gearing is very slow. You can tell how fast the motor is turning compared to the wheels. That is a good job. You can still hear the gears a little bit, but it was like that before and I haven't changed anything, so that's okay. So if you think you'd like to own this, I'm going to put it up on my website. $50 Canadian, which is about 37 US. There's a neat video on how to convert these to DCC. I'm going to put that in the description also. It makes more noise going backward. But I haven't changed anything, so that's okay. It'll probably, as the engine drives, it'll probably settle down that noise. Remember, this end is the back, so we're going to go put the shell back on. So the shell goes back on here. I noticed my circuit board, you can see the two LEDs. So these never burn out. One pin is high and the other pin is low. I'm just going to pry it back up just a little bit. I don't remember if the lights worked before. I think they did, but since I have everything apart now, it will be a good time to do that. I guess the recessed area in the back, It's just to clearance these two resistors. So remember, the back is the low part, which is counterintuitive, but there it is. Sits way better like that. Then those two little silver screws, they go to secure the body. So I just need a little Phillips head screwdriver to drive that in. It's not very solid in there. Probably why it was out when I removed the fuel tank. Same with that one. Gonna get help from my screwdriver. Here we go. And that's the same thing. Probably doesn't have a lot of torque there. Perfect. And then this has two air tanks on the side. So there's a recess for those air tanks right here. So that can only go back one way. And then these two little screws. I suppose if you lost these, you could just glue it back together. It would probably hold, but it's best to keep it original if you have a chance. And that, as they say, is that. And now it's time to run some trains. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. I certainly had fun making it for you. See you soon. I just wanted to show off my U25C. Give you a closer look at that. They have individual lights for each number board. So when the locomotive is going this way, the number boards in the back are still lit up. Really good pilot detail. Side frames detail. The ladder here is a separately applied part. So these are really cool. I really appreciate them. Lots of nice details. I'm gonna read to you from, since I have a little bit of time, I'm gonna read to you from Model Railroad Craftsman, March 1969. So trains in the snow. Here's a nice ad for Rapido. They got their nice Pacific and 060 and an FA2. So all these things, remember you have to multiply the prices by 10. So this one would be $210. So still expensive. I think we got it good today. Remember back when you had to mail order everything? Here's a section for what was available for N. And then you had to mail in the coupon. I remember doing that. They had some ads for Concord. So some of the older engines. The MRC N-Scale Berkshire I still see these available on eBay. They're still expensive. Back then must have been at least well, $29.95 would be about $300 today. $200 today, you got a DCC and sound engine, so comparatively we got it good. Drawings of the Southern Pacific Sunset Limited. That's kind of cool. They have an article on Grand Trunk, a little bit of everything. There's a huge article on Northern Pacific steam engines. I like looking at pictures of old engines. That is something that I enjoy. So that's how it works. You buy a full page ad and then they give you a review of the engine featured in the ad. You know, if they do publicity on with dancing girls and a jingle and like they used to do for beer ads, that doesn't really attract me. But a review in a magazine, that is always how I buy stuff. Alco models, they always have nice brass ads. I like those RF-16s. There's another full-page ad for some nice engines. And then the last page is always full color.